Hello, welcome to the series of lectures on vector spaces. Today in this presentation, we are considering some examples of vector subspaces. So let us see the scope of this presentation. We will first discuss the subspaces, definition and criteria for just refreshing the contents, and next we will take examples of subspaces from algebra as well as from geometry. The concluding part will be comprised of some subsets which are not subspaces, and they will also be from algebra as well as geometry. So let us first refresh the definition of a vector subspace. If VF be a vector space over a field F, then a set W having satisfied all the 9 axioms under internal and external compositions which the elements of V satisfy, then we call this W as vector subspace of V. It is denoted by W subset or subspace V. This picture shows that V is a large space of vectors and W is a space comprised of some of the elements taken from the larger space. So if both V and W satisfy the internal and external composition properties with respect to V and F, then we call them the vector space and the vector subspace. Now we define the criteria for proving a subset to be the subspace. So if VF be a vector space over the field F and W is a subset of V, then it requires to satisfy 3 major conditions for its claim to be the subspace. What are these conditions? The first condition is that the set must be non-empty, that is W must not be equal to null set, and for that we just check for the existence of zero vector or origin which belongs to W or not. Second condition we want to verify for the set given to us is vector addition is closed in W, that is the sum of 2 vectors should also be a member of set W. And the third condition, which is the last condition and the most important part of it, which is multiplication by scalar is closed in W, that is for any alpha, arbitrary alpha in F and a vector U in W, the scalar product of alpha and U is a member of W. So if the 3 conditions are satisfied by a subset W of V, then we call this W as a subspace. Suppose this is a larger vector space consisting of so many vectors in it, and someone wants to take a handful of some of the vectors and want to verify if it is the subspace of it or not. So if we take this small set out of this larger set and want to prove that this is a subspace, then this must satisfy the 3 criteria which a subspace should satisfy. Examples of subspaces from algebra. This is the important part, that we have divided the examples in 2 categories. Number 1 is algebra and number 2 is geometry. So let us first discuss the examples from algebra. The trivial subset V of a vector space V is always a subspace of itself. As you know, V is always a subset of V itself, and when the elements of V satisfies all the criteria for a subspace, then we call that the subset V, in improper subset or trivial subset of V is V, and it is a subspace of itself. So there is nothing to prove in it. Second, we are taking a singleton set. Singleton set means a set containing only one element. Here we are considering the singleton containing the 0 element, 0 vector, which is a subset of V and is also a subspace, because 0 is the only element in the spaces which satisfy all the conditions for a subset to be called vector subspace. So when it is there, 0 is there in the set, the first axiom is already satisfied, The second one is 0 plus 0 is again a 0 and it is already there in the set. So second condition is also satisfied. And if I multiply this 0 by any scalar taken from the field F, then it will again be a 0. That means the third condition is also satisfied. So hence we can say that the singleton containing the 0 vector is again a vector subspace of parent vector space V. Another example we are going to take, a set containing only null matrix of any order is always a subset of competent vector space. Null matrix of any order, that is M cross N. Then the competent vector space will be the space of matrices consisting of matrices of order M cross N, and that is why I have written the competent vector space. So it may be the vector space containing more matrices, but the word competent vector space is specifically chosen. So null matrix also satisfies all the three criteria. Null matrix is a member of it. Sum of two null matrices is again a null matrix. And if I multiply a null matrix by a scalar, then it makes no difference to it, and hence all the three conditions are satisfied. So again, we can use the common sense while proving that the set containing matrix, null matrix, is a subspace. Next example we have taken from the polynomials of degree less than or equal to n. Here it is point to be noted that the degree of polynomial is less than or equal to n. That is, the members of this set P and X will be of degree n or less than that. It may contain the powers x raised to n, it may contain powers of x power n minus 1 and so on, and even constant and zero term also. So this is again a vector subspace of vector space of all polynomials over a field R. So if I take n is equal to 5, then what happens? If I take a polynomial of degree 0 and make it equal to 0, then it is the element of this set. So 0 exists in this set of polynomials. Again, the sum of two polynomials is again a polynomial of degree less than or equal to n. And third one is, if I multiply a polynomial by any scalar belonging to the field F, it makes the difference only in the coefficients, not in the powers of x. So the powers will be preserved. So hence all the three criteria are preserved by the set P and X. We call this set a vector subspace of vector space of all polynomials over the field R. Next is the example of some continuous functions. Here it is defined by u equal to fx such that f1 equal to 0. That means it is a set of functions for which the value of function is 0 at x equal to 1, and x belongs to the set of real number. It is a subspace of vector space of continuous functions with respect to the set of real numbers. So 0 is always a member of it because 0 always has the value 0 for all values of x belonging to R. So 0 is a member of it. Second, if I take two functions for which f1 is 0, then if we put x equal to 1 in the sum of those two functions, then it will again be 0. So second axiom is also satisfied. And the third one is, if I multiply a function by any scalar alpha, then it is not going to affect the nature of this function as regard to the value of function at x equal to 1. It will again be 0. So when all the three conditions are satisfied for this function, we say that it is a subspace. So these are the examples we have taken from algebra, and you can construct a million of examples out of this set. Next we take some examples from geometry. This is the first example, that a set W of R cube defined by W equal to x 0 0 for x belonging to the set of real number. It is a subspace. So geometrically speaking, it is the collection of vectors lying on the x-axis, where the second and third component are forced to be 0. These two components will never be any other number than the 0 itself. So this is the collection of vectors along the x-axis, be it positive or in negative direction, because x is a real number. So if I take x equal to 0, then 0, 0, 0, origin will be a member of it. Second, if I take two similar elements x0, 0 and y0, 0 from this set, then their sum x plus y0, 0 will again be of the same shape, same form, and hence we can say that the sum of two elements is again in the set W, so it is closed for addition. And third, if I multiply this vector by any scalar alpha or a, then it becomes ax comma 0, 0. So again, it is not going to lose the nature of this vector, and hence we say that third condition is also satisfied. So having met all the three conditions, this collection of vectors along x-axis is a subspace of R cube, that is three-dimensional Cartesian space. Not only the vectors along x-axis, we can consider the vectors in a plane also. So this is the example of some vectors lying on the xy plane. You can very well see that the point or the triad defined by x comma y comma 0, in which the third component is compulsorily 0. So the point will always lie on the xy plane. So if I try to consider x equal to 0 and y equal to 0, the 0 will be the element of it, and 0 also lies on the xy plane as well. Secondly, the sum of two vectors of similar nature will again be the vector of this kind, and the third one, alpha x alpha y comma 0, will also be the point or vector on the xy plane. So all the three axioms are satisfied. We can call this W as a subspace of R cube. And similarly, this xy, yz and zx, all the three planes are subspaces of this R cube. So we can write these two also. Next, the subsets which are not the subspaces, means these are the subsets of a vector space, but they cannot be called the subspaces due to one or the other reasons. One reason is that these out of three important criteria, any one of them is not satisfied by that particular subset, then it ceases to be called the subspace. Second, if the given subset is not the subset of a vector space which the subspace is being called the subset. So let us take this example. A null set phi can never be a subspace of any vector space. Why? Because this null set is containing no element in it, and when no element is there, how can we justify the criteria for a subspace? So it can never be a subspace of any vector space. And these are the two sets, set of natural numbers and set of integers. Set of natural number does not contain 0. That is, the first criteria is failed here. So this n ceases to be a subspace of set of real numbers, that is one-dimensional vector space. And second is the set of integers. Integers contain 0. First condition is satisfied. Second condition, the sum of two integers is again an integer. It is also satisfied. But what about the third one? That is, if I multiply an integer by any real number, say for example 1 by 2 or 1 by 5, then the product 1 by 5 into any integer will never be a part of this z. So third condition is not satisfied by this set, and hence it also does not get entitlement for the subspaces. So these are the three examples which are subsets of the real number system, but they are not the subspaces. Next, we take subset Pn of Pnx of polynomial of degree equal to n. That is, the set will be called a polynomial of degree n if it contains all the members for which the degree is x power n, is not a vector space. For example, if I take a vector member of this set Pnx equal to x cube plus 2x, and another member I take minus x cube. So x cube plus x plus minus x cube will give us only x or 2x. So degree is reduced by 2 and there is no term of x power 3 in the sum of two members, and hence the second criteria is not satisfied by this set, and therefore it cannot be called a subspace, but it is called as a subset of the set of all polynomials over the field R. So next example we are taking that if V is a Euclidean subspace Rn and W a set of vectors in Rm, but it is very clear that when m is less than n, that is the number of tuples in this set subset W is less than the number of tuples in Rn, then it can never be a subset of Rn, because physically we may find that the two-dimensional plane is a part of three-dimensional space, but analytically or algebraically the third Rn is the space of n tuples and it is the space of m tuples, so these can never be the subset of each other. So it cannot be called a vector subspace of this space V, that is R power n. Next example, the subset W of R cube defined by this set, where it is the collection of vectors having three components x, y and z, where these three components belong to the set of natural numbers. But again, natural number does not the set of natural numbers does not contain the number 0. So we cannot take x equal to 0, y equal to 0 and z equal to 0, resulting in the fact that origin will never be a part of this set W, and hence at the very outset it is rejected to be called the subspace of three-dimensional Cartesian space. So if first condition is not satisfied, then we should not try for another conditions, second and third. Next example we have taken from R4, that is four-dimensional space, where all the members of this set are of same components. All the four components are same and they belong to the set of integers. Again, the first condition is satisfied because 0 can be taken as x, so 0, 0, 0, 0, origin belongs to the set W. Second, the sum of similar vectors is again a similar vector of the same kind, then we say that the second condition is also satisfied. But what happens when we multiply its vector by 1 by 3? It becomes x by 3, x by 3, x by 3, x by 3. Of course, all the four are equal, but x by 3 is not the member of set of integers. So the third condition is not satisfied, and hence we say that it is not a subspace of its parent vector space, that is R4. So these are some examples of subsets which are not the subspace. Now there are some examples which need formal proof. That is, in earlier examples, 10 examples, we have applied our common sense and we have discussed it verbally. But in this case, we need to write something for giving the proof of that set to be the subspace or not to be the subspace. So let us consider this example. This is an example of collection of vectors x, y, z components with the condition that the three components x, y and z must satisfy this equation, where x, y, z are taken from the set of real number. This is a vector subspace of R cube. On the other hand, geometrically we are seeing that this is an equation of a plane passing through origin, because constant term is 0. So it will always pass through origin. So let us see if this is a vector subspace. It can be easily observed that 0, 0, 0 belongs to W. As I have already said that it is a plane passing through origin. So origin 0, 0, 0 will always be the part of this W. So hence the W is non-empty subset or a given set. Second condition, Consider any two arbitrary members of this set W, x1, y1, z1 and x2, y2, z2 in W. And when we are taking these two to be the part of this W, then they must also satisfy this equation. So we have written x1, 2y1 and 3z1, x2, 2y2, 3z2 equal to 0. Now, the second condition says that sum of these two elements, u and v, must also be the part of W. So let us see if we could find that. So u plus v equal to x1 plus x2, y1 plus y2 and z1 plus z2. As usual, you know that the sum of two vectors is represented by the components having the sum of components of these two elements. So when I write this in this form, then this must also satisfy this equation. And if I put x1, x2, y1, y2, z1 plus z2 in this equation, I can very well separate them and I can write x1 to y1, 3z1 and x2, y2 and 3z2. So if I use these two conditions, which are quite obvious, then it becomes 0 plus 0 equal to again a 0 vector. So the second condition is also satisfied, that the sum of two elements of this set is again a element of this set only. Third condition is, for alpha in R, we can always write alpha u equal to alpha x plus 2 alpha y plus 3 alpha z, and I can take this alpha common out of it and write within the bracket the term x plus 2y plus 3z. But it is given to be 0 and it must be satisfied by the elements of this set. So I can write alpha into 0 and it is giving me 0 vector. So third condition is also satisfied. So having satisfied all the three conditions, we can claim that W is a subspace of R cube. Next, we prove a theorem, that is, the set of solutions of a homogeneous system of linear equations is a subspace. Suppose we have a set of linear equations in n unknown variables, and those unknown variables are represented by a vector x, and it has m equations. Then the system of homogeneous linear equations can be written in the form of a matrix. So let us see what happens. How do we prove it? So let W be the set of all solutions of homogeneous system of linear equations represented by this matrix equation, each having n variables, such that W is a subset of R power n. So we want to prove that W is a subspace of this Euclidean space R power n, and for that we have to verify, as usual, the three conditions. Number one, is the set W empty? The answer is no, because 0, 0, 0 will always be the solution of a homogeneous system of linear equation, which is the trivial solution as you have studied in your last classes. So 0 will always be the member of this W, and hence it is always non-empty. So first condition is met out. What happens to next one? x1 comma x2 belongs to W. Can we claim that x1 plus x2 belongs to W? And when we claim that x1 plus x2 belongs to W, why? Because if I write the solution ax1 plus x2 equal to ax1 plus ax2, which is allowed because matrix distribute the sum of vectors, and ax1 and ax2, because as x1 and x2 are the solutions of this matrix equation, I can always write ax1 equal to 0 and ax2 equal to 0. So if I put 0 in place of these two, I will be getting 0 again. So we say that if x1 and x2 are solutions of this matrix equation, then x1 plus x2 will always be the solution of this matrix equation, that is the system of homogeneous linear equations. So second condition is also verified here. Third is, if x belongs to the set of solutions W and alpha is a real number belonging to this field F, then alpha x belongs to W, Why? I can write A alpha x equal to alpha ax. Why I can write like this? Because you very well know that any scalar lying within the product of two matrices, multiplication of two matrices, it can move freely on either side, or on the left hand side or on the right hand side. So it is better I take it to the left hand side and write alpha ax, but ax is given to be 0, so I can write alpha into 0 equal to 0. So this is the proof for the third axiom which the set W must satisfy. So hence we can say that W, the set of solutions of homogeneous system of linear equation, is again a subspace. And subspace of what? Subspace of this Euclidean space Rn. Why Rn? Because we have considered n variables or n unknowns for the set of equations contained in this set vector x. So here is a comment that what happens if this is not equal to 0? That is, it is a non-homogeneous system of linear equations. Ax equal to b, for example, and b is not equal to 0. So what happens? So let us see in the comment. The set of solution of a non-homogeneous system of linear equation Ax equal to b, where b is not equal to 0, is not a vector subspace of Euclidean space. Why? Because for being a subspace, the set of solutions must contain 0 solution, which it will not have at any time, because 0 can never be the solution of a non-homogeneous system of linear equation, because this B contains the vectors in which at least one component must be non-zero, and then only it can justify the condition B not equal to 0, that is the null vector. So hence when it is 0 is not the solution of this, and it will be absent in the set of solutions, so it cannot be called a subspace. So this is the very important theorem which is useful in the matrix algebra also. This is the practice exercise for you to examine the subset defined hereunder are subspaces of vector spaces mentioned against each. These are the 5 questions from algebra, and this is the 4 questions from the geometry. The first question is, any plane passing through origin is a subspace. Vectors lying on this plane, a subspace of RQ. This is the second quadrant, lying on the left hand side of x-axis and above left hand side of y-axis and above x-axis. That is the second quadrant, all the negative values of x and all the positive values of x. Is it a vector subspace of R2? And this is the dark line which I have mentioned here. This line is a vector subspace of R2 or not. It is the line where all the elements will be along this line only. So you all do this exercise at your home. I thank you all for watching patiently up to the end.